Thomas, it's anyone?
All right. While the photographers are taking the last shots here, allow me to remind you the routine. When you have a question to ask, please raise your hand a little bit ahead of time so that I could see you. More importantly, my God, you're fast. More importantly, so that the ladies equipped with microphone can reach you and hand you the mic. When you have the mic, please do not stand up, but introduce yourselves and then ask your question. There's a huge crowd here, so please go to the point of the question. And I will begin by introducing, and turn your cell phones off, please. And I will begin by introducing the people who are here at this table. Starting on the far left, she was partnered as a producer with Mr. Paul Thomas Anderson on Boogie Nights and on Magnolia, but she also produced Jennifer Jason Leigh's and Alan Cummings' anniversary party that was shown here last year. Miss Joanne Seller.
Hello.
For a while, he was just that guy. The scruffy schlub, that was a composition, who in Boogie Nights told Mark Wahlberg that he was in love with him. We all went, wow, who is that guy? We looked at our press kits and we went, God, he has 3 names, we'll never remember that. He didn't make it easy for us because he was very much an ensemble cast kind of guy. He was one of the inmates in Todd Solond's delightful, insane asylum called Happiness. He got bumped off in The Talented Mr. Ripley. He embodied some kind of a cynicism in Almost Famous. On stage, he was also an almost flawless drag queen. On stage, it's another kettle de poisson. As a director, he did striking work on Jesus Hopped, the A Train on Broadway. He and John C. Reilly, a Boogie Night alumni, partnered to do a most definitive True West, Sand Rapids True West. And last year, he also partnered with Meryl Streep, Christopher Walken, Marcia Gay Harden, Natalie Portman, and a whole bunch of high-caliber actors for the Seagull. And if only for the strength of one scene, he stole the show. So now we don't have any problem remembering the 3 names, and that's Philip Seymour Hoffman. Her first film, her performance in her first film, Breaking the Waves, was a double-edged sword, to put it mildly. With that performance, with performances such as her performance in Hillary and Jackie and Angela's Ashes, we began to fear that she might spend her screen life either weeping or dying or both. Then Robert Altman gang happened, first with Alan Rudolph and Trixie and Robert Altman himself in Gosford Park, and changed her completely. So with Paul Thomas Anderson, free at last, Emily Watson. He's a comedian, he's an actor, he's a producer, he's a composer. He was... No?
I've done some of that.
And more.
That's right.
He was a pillar of Saturday Night Live. His Opera Man went beyond trivia and became part of American culture. He made films like Little Nicky and Big Daddy and Waterboy that were hugely popular, made a huge impact at the box office. They didn't give much indication that one day he would find himself in this temple of art called Cannes. Mr. Adam Sandler. Hard Eight startled us into attention. Boogie Nights confirmed. Magnolia ratified. With his fourth film, Mr. Paul Thomas Anderson. And a question over there first. And the second one here.
Good morning, George. My name is Sandy Kenyon from ABC Radio in the States, 1010 Wins in New York. I want to ask you, Mr. Sandler, some of the others have been to Cannes before. What does it feel like to be here on a Sunday morning in the Temple of Art?
Thank you for asking. The feelings I'm feeling are respect. No, I don't know. I don't really feel that. I'm feeling good. It's nice to meet you all. I've enjoyed the food. I had a nice sleep last night. And oh yeah, no. I saw you guys having looking like you were partying, and I watched the MTV and with my brother, and we had fun and a lot of good songs we danced to. And I'm having a very nice time here, and I feel very proud to be here. Thank you.
Question over there.
Stephen Schaefer here from the Boston Herald. This is for Paul Thomas Anderson and Adam Sandler. For Paul, it's unusual for a big American movie to come to Cannes. A lot of people are afraid, especially when it's months away from an American release. Can you talk about your decision to come to Cannes and be here in the competition? And for Adam Sandler, do you see this as a departure, the way they talked about Jim Carrey doing Cable Guy? Is this a new direction for your career?
Jim who?
Sorry.
There's really no decision to be here. It's a privilege, and it's an honor. I mean, it's the film festival, and it's really not it's really not a choice. You desperately want it.
Very nice. And that's true. And he speaks from the heart there, Paul. He's very excited, and so am I. And so are these three people. Also, I feel like I was very lucky. Paul came by and he visited me while I was shooting another movie, and he said I saw Paul's movies and I admired them, and he told me wanted us to work together, and I had never thought about a departure from anything. I just thought about when I saw this kid's movies and I loved them, and he wanted to work together, and I was more than excited to do it.
You didn't wonder why me? I mean, I may love this guy's movies, but what the hell am I going to do in his world?
You know what? When we first met, he was such a good man, and we just clicked as two guys talking, and I trusted the fact that he was excited, and he said, let's do something that he's never done before and that I've never done before, and he said that Emily was going to be a part of it, and I said, that sounds cool.
Question here and then there.
Hello, my name is Inge Watchelot. I'm from Radio France International. I would like to ask Mr. Anderson a slight commentary for my colleagues non-English-speaking, who had a slight problem with understanding the title of the movie, Punch Drunk Love. What is it, Punch Drunk Love, for you and for the heroes?
Punch drunk, I suppose, is a uniquely American phrase that describes the state of mind when you feel a little punchy, And it's, I think, an accurate word to describe falling in love.
Yeah.
Question over there.
Okay. Hi, Baz Family Boy from the Daily
Sit
Mail.
down, Baz.
Oh, right.
I'm sorry, you're just interfering with the camera. People behind you. You're tall.
I'm so sorry, Andre. Anyway,
No problem.
From the Daily Mail in England, I just wanted to ask the director, Paul Thomas Anderson, notwithstanding the genesis which is explained in our press notes, the film is so beautifully and unashamedly romantic. I'm just wondering what else was going on sort of when you were writing it. I mean, it couldn't have just come from the Time magazine piece. And Emily, talk to us about romance in movies. And also, I want to know where the great song comes from, He Needs Me.
He needs me.
Yeah, go ahead. No. I'll sing the chorus. He Needs Me is actually a Harry Nilsson song from Popeye, and Shelley Duvall sings it. And the other things that were going on, besides just the kind of the pudding concept, was for me was really wanting to make a romantic comedy, and really particularly wanting to work with Adam and Emily. Those were the three main things to try and make the fourth would be to make a 90-minute movie, sort of to try and save everybody a little bit of time in their day, and those were the things. Those were the things that springboarded me to want to write a movie, and I think I had the thought of Adam and Emily, and they seemed like a handsome couple to me.
Romance in the movies. Wow. Well, it's very easy to fall in love with Adam for a start.
That's sweet.
Paul took me to lunch at Arts Deli on Ventura Boulevard, and I said I didn't want to cry and I didn't want to die, and he said, well, it sounded like a good idea, and I don't know, it was just it didn't feel like a movie where I had a thing that I had to do. I just had to be there and just love being there and just get into it, and it was very simple, and it's very delicious being in a romantic film. It's lovely.
It was the first time I've ever kissed a girl in a movie where I was sitting next to my girlfriend, and she actually wasn't mad at me. She was like, "Oh." That was a big plus in my life.
You must have fallen in love with Emily Watson's walk, because I've never seen anyone walk on screen so consistently, so often, this side of Pam Grier.
Emily is like Pam Grier.
Go ahead.
Here we go. Bruce Kirkland from the Toronto Sun. Question for Paul Thomas Anderson. Some of us thought you were actually completely out of your mind when you cast Adam Sandler in this movie, because we had preconceived ideas of the kind of comedies he has made, and we have a notion that you don't make those kind of movies. And when I discussed this with Emily Watson back at Gosford Park Times, she told me that I was going to have to eat crow, or words to that effect. And so I'm eating crow, yes. It was a brilliant decision. What did you see in him that inspired you to choose him for this particular role?
He made me laugh. Really, he just makes me laugh.
But this is not a comedy in that sense, though, because it's a tragic character as well.
He's funny to me.
Can you elaborate on your attitude towards him as an actor, then?
I love him. I absolutely think he's the greatest. And that's really it. I just absolutely fell in love with him when I saw Saturday Night Live, and I love his movies, and I loved watching him, and really just made me laugh. And he walks very funny, and his head is kind of funny, and his ear is a little bit funny.
That's right.
And I haven't seen you naked, but that might be funny too.
They would throw me out of the country. The clothes came off. Now, actually, just to be honest with you, naked it's not so bad.
Madame.
Giovanna Grassi of Corriere della Sera, Italy. We know that you love to live in the valley, but can you tell us what means to you to live alone in Sherman Oaks, to go alone during the night in the supermarket, to read on the Los Angeles Weekly hundreds and hundreds of numbers of sexy girls, and to dream of love? Can you tell us what means to you?
Tell us about your life in the valley, Paul.
Well, I like supermarkets. I like phone sex. And I live in the valley.
The gentleman over there.
Hi, thanks. It's Stephen Garrett from InStyle Magazine. I wanted to ask you all, this is such a wonderful romance, I wanted to ask Paul, you, and the three actors as well, what is your favorite romance? And then also, conversely, what do you think the sexiest movie ever made is?
That's not fair.
I would say E.T. is pretty sexy.
Is that what the valley does to you?
No,
Mulholland Drive's pretty sexy.
Oh, Phil.
I think it is.
It's great. You like that, don't you?
I think it's
Yeah. Yeah. Hey.
The mic is over there. Le micro tout à fait là-haut, là-bas. Ah, pardon. Qui est-ce qui l'avait là? Okay, allez-y. I'm sorry. My mistake.
Hi, Nick Ransom, Scriptwriter Magazine in the UK. Question for Paul and Adam. Comedians are notorious for their improvisational abilities. Could you just talk, both Adam and Paul, about how the script maybe deviates or doesn't deviate from the shooting script to the finished product? And sort of how you found a way of working from off the script and with Adam's obvious improvisational skills?
Yeah, you know, I honest to God, it was like it's really sort of hard to remember how much we actually improvised and how much was written. I mean, a lot of it's written, but then we just kind of wing some things here and there, and maybe
Paul did a lot of improvising on the set also when there was actually scenes that we just that day or right a few minutes before shooting, Paul rewrote it, and you know, I'd say 99% of the movie is Paul's work. I didn't add
DJ Justice.
Yeah, just stuff in the restaurant, but that was because Paul told me to do something like that.
Yeah, there'd be times where I'd written something, but I'd just say, like maybe the scene in the restaurant when they're on the date, where it was just all just a little too kind of written. So it was like, well, just remember some of the things that were in here, but throw it out the window and just make it up a bit, you know, and wrap your mouth around it nicely and say the words, whatever really kind of works for you. But just make sure you hit this, make sure you hit that, make sure you hit that, and then fill in the blanks. But then other stuff, we'd kind of wing stuff that morning and rewrite a bit.
Yeah.
You know, we were kind of making it up as we went along a bit.
Question over there.
Hello, Chen Yuwang, Minxian Daily News from Taiwan, Taipei. I have one question for Mr. Adam Sandler. Do you have any project to work with Chinese actress, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Zhang Ziyi? Thank you.
Oh yes. Oh, I met her. She's a very nice girl, and we're talking about doing something someday. And she came by in California, and I talked to her for an hour. She's very nice. We'll figure something out. I think she's a very talented girl and very nice girl. So we'll hopefully get something going. Thanks for asking. What's that? For a different film, yeah. There's an idea that somebody has about a mail order bride, and she would be that girl, and I would be the guy who orders her, I guess.
Question here, then here.
It's over here, Paul. For this, you just mentioned you like phone sex, but I would think this movie would be the cautionary tale for anybody who ever considered making a phone sex thing. Do you see Michael Moore is here with Welcome to Columbine, where he talks about violence in America in his documentary as kind of almost a genetically programmed kind of thing about Americans. And we see the rages that Adam's character goes through. Are you trying to make some comment here? Is it just depression with such a dark character who can't express himself? And are you thinking of a cautionary tale here about phone sex?
No.
Absolutely not.
I think that he's a bit confused. He's a bit angry, and a lot of it has to do with where these. I think a lot of it has to do with how he grew up.
I had a more general question. Perhaps everybody here is involved. We've just talked about the subject a little bit, but concerning this theme, love on the telephone, sex on the telephone. Okay, more general question concerning telephone sex. So he's going to start his question again. Concerning what we just said, I'd like to go a little bit further concerning sex on the telephone. Is this film not a pretext to say that in our society we're aggressed on all sides and individuals find it difficult to get through? Perhaps it's a theme rather like Magnolia. It's the individual in society today who undergoes society. Is this a film which is a kind of continuation of Magnolia? That's a question for Paul Thomas. And do you feel that in life today that this situation is more and more common? Is there a revolt here? Everybody's more and more has a feeling of a revolt inside themselves nowadays.
Okay, the question is your movie and incommunicability.
Well, I got a little bit lost in. I hope it's not a continuation of Magnolia. I hope it's really, really different. I think that I don't know what I'm trying to say because I'm not sure that I understand the question.
Basically, he was saying, why Adam Sandler again?
Question over there.
Hi, Ron Dicker from the Hartford Courant, and this is for Adam. Adam, between this and Mr. Deeds, do you see this as a critical time for you? And are you anxious about the way you'll be received in both?
Well, I mean, I have done movies, and I've received, from not too much critical success. But it's really wasn't the reason I did what I did. I got into acting and comedy to try to do the best I could and try to make funny movies and try to make kids laugh and try to that was my goal. And this is out of nowhere. It's a new chapter, and in my career, or if you want to call it a career, and it wasn't something I thought about much, but now that Paul made this movie and I'm in it and I'm hearing people talk about it, it's a fun feeling, and I'm very very happy, and I'm happy I met this guy.
I have a question for the lady producer. You've worked with Paul on 2 films, Boogie Nights and Magnolia. Both of them are long. So when you embarked on this project, did you go, I'll give you a challenge, Paul, under 100 minutes, please?
No. So after Boogie Nights, Paul said to me that he was going to do a very short movie, and then he wrote the script for Magnolia and presented a 180-page script. And then after Magnolia, he said, I'm going to do a very short film. So when we got the script for Punch Drunk Love, I was very happy, but I love Magnolia, I love Boogie Nights, so the length didn't matter to me on either. And so it wasn't something I asked Paul to do. He writes his own scripts. It's not in my control.
Was it easy to put together?
This film was, a lot easier to put together than like Magnolia or Boogie Nights.
Question over there.
Two questions. Very quick one. It's literally 90 minutes? Did you try to make it to the second 90 minutes? Is it like, did you trim a scene, or is it 90 minutes and 5 seconds, or is that the pledge?
No, there was nothing like that. I mean, my editor's sitting right there. How long is the movie exactly? I think it's 92, so I lied. No, there was nothing like that. There was nothing. It wasn't that psychotic. It was just, whatever was going to work. And we happened to be in the ballpark. I was really shocked.
Second question, quickly. About 1 million years ago, there's a Jerry Lewis movie called Artists and Models, which I suddenly thought of with Jerry Lewis and who falls in love with Shirley MacLaine, and it's kind of like this. It's a great movie. And so I wondered if is not necessarily that movie, but is Jerry Lewis a factor in this movie for both Adam Sandler and Paul Thomas Anderson? What does Jerry Lewis mean to you, Adam Sandler? And in terms of Jerry Lewis movie making, is there any homage in this movie or his way of making films?
I love Artists and Models. I love it. I love Frank Tashlin. And I think Robert and I watched. I have a 16mm print of Artists and Models that we had watched. Really, just sort of more about doing some lighting stuff and trying to steal some costume stuff. But as far as Jerry Lewis, I've always considered Adam Sandler, Martin, and Lewis.
I've always considered myself Martin and Lewis, with a little bit of the Three Stooges, a dash of. No, I got nothing. Jerry Lewis was one of my favorite comedians. I met him this year. He's a very sweet man. I went to a show in Vegas, and he tore it up for an hour and a half. And I went backstage and talked to him, and he was very nice to me. And he's a big part of my life. I always loved his comedy. And actually, my grandfather passed away when I was a kid, and that night when all the relatives were coming home to my house to pay respects, I was somehow, it was like 6 hours after he passed away, I was in my room and I was watching a Jerry Lewis movie, and I was laughing, and I remember my uncle came in and said, "How you doing, kid?" And I remember looking at him and I said, "Good." And he said, "Are you upset about Grandpa?" I go, "Oh, yeah. And I felt very guilty about laughing and being happy during a Jerry Lewis movie, but my father and my uncle said that's what he's there for. Movies like that are there for, to cheer you up, and so he's always been a big part of my heart, and I always think I always love when a Jerry Lewis movie comes on.
I have a question for Philip Seymour Hoffman. You go from stage to film from characters that you establish from beginning to end, and others that you establish in 4 minutes, 3 scenes. How does one go about establishing the latter? I mean, do you just walk in and go, I have 3 lines to establish the character, or 3 grunts, or whatever?
Well, yeah. Well, 3 grunts would be pretty hard. I don't know.
what comes first? Is it the voice? Is it the attitude? Is it?
No, I think it's just approach it the same way I would play or a bigger part in the film. You know, I think it's about you kind of look at your job in the story. You know, and my job in this story is Paul didn't say this to me, but I always see it as that I'm the nightmare in the dream. You know, I'm his worst fear, and he needs to overcome me before he's ever going to be able to be with Emily, and so I understood that. You know, I understood what that kind of nightmare fear is about. You know, making that call and all of a sudden ruining your life, and there's the guy behind that call, you know, that you didn't expect to be there. And so that's really what I look at. I go, what's my job in the story? What's my cog in the wheel, you know? And so I just wanted to foot that bill. I wanted to make sure that I was a character worth fearing, and a character that was big enough that it was going to take him a lot. He'd have to go through a lot in order to overcome me, you know, and that's really how I look at all those types of parts. I try to see, where's my if I don't do my job, how will the film be less successful, you know? And so, because those are what kind of small character roles are about, you know, they're about that. If you need that ingredient for the other main story in order for the other main story to be as potent as it can be, you know, and so that kind of tells me what I need to do most of the time. Yeah.
Thank you. Sir?
Hi, Sperling Reich from Film Stew in Los Angeles. I have a question for both Philip Seymour Hoffman and a couple for Paul Thomas Anderson. We all know what we think about Paul Thomas Anderson. You've worked with him several times, so what do you see? What are your thoughts on why you continue to return working with him time and again? And for Paul Thomas Anderson, I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about the sound design for the film, which is quite unique, as well how you convinced...
No, Stepo et il Taimo. Go ahead.
Step at a time-o. I should have listened to that. No, okay. Why I continue working with Paul? Because he's my friend. You know, I mean, people. It's kind of gone beyond. There's a director who will hire me. I hope he hires me again. I mean, it's not like that. He's a friend of mine, and we spend more time probably talking about things that have nothing to do with our careers or whatever now than we do about the work. You know, it's kind of like we'll be talking about something, and then all of a sudden Paul will say, "Oh yeah, I've written this thing," you know, in the middle of it, you know, and there's this thing I'd like you to play, you know, read it, and I'll read it, I'll talk to him again, and so really it's more about friendship and camaraderie and liking having someone around, you know, when you're working, you know, and because it's not easy, you know, and you want to be able to trust the people you're with when you're working, because you get pretty personal, and sometimes you lose your cool, and you want to know you can turn around and you'll see Paul, or Paul will see me, or Bob, or any of these people that are always involved in Paul's films. You know, it's very warming feeling, you know, and that's why, you know, I'll just work with Paul whenever, and him with me, and I'm sure it'll be like that till one of us, you know, isn't here anymore, I hope.
And the second question was about sound design.
Sound design, and also, how did you, I mean, this is a major studio release, so how did you convince going to Columbia with a 90-minute script and Adam Sandler in a serious movie, how did you wind up convincing a studio to take that challenge on?
Well, the movie was financed by Revolution Studios, which is run by Joe Roth, and who's a pretty terrific guy who I got along with instantly. And Adam has a relationship with him as well. And we made the movie relatively cheaply, and Joe seemed to like the idea and like the script, and there really wasn't a lot of question. He had a lot of faith that we would make a good movie, and I promised that I wouldn't ask him for any more money, you know, that it would be what it was going to be, and
so he had to borrow money from me.
Question over there.
Okay.
Sound design.
Yeah. Well, we just had a lot of ideas and put them to work, really, we spent a lot of time, Leslie Jones, my editor, and I, working with pretty closely with John Bryan, the composer, and coming up with all kinds of interesting sounds that was really sort of trigger. I think that I just had the idea when I was writing the script that would be a nice element that kind of could work as soundtrack to a certain extent. You know, just and a lot of it came from the actual warehouse space where we were shooting in. There was just something out there. I don't know. It was just. The actual space itself and where it was, because there was a train nearby, and there was sort of these distant noises from different sort of factories and different street noises, and then you'd hear birds chirping, and it was all you could just stand there, and it was always this kind of amazing, odd collection of sounds, and it felt really dreamy and neat, and we just sort of like took what was there and kind of ran with it or multiplied it up and. I think we're just trying to like make like a bit of a musical out of noises and things that we liked, that seemed interesting.
Do you want to make a musical?
Do I want to make a musical? Yeah. God damn, I would love to. I hope this movie's a musical. A bit. There's some dancing in the supermarket by Mr. Sandler.
Yeah.
Adam improvised that. And I've never been so happy in my life.
Sir?
Peter Paul Hood, German television. A question to Paul Thomas Anderson. I wanted to ask you about the theme of loneliness in your films. I mean, it's especially strong in this film. Kind of desperate people, or very lonely, trying to find some salvation, some love in their life. This is one part. And the other part is, how much do you see your films as realistic stories, or how strong is the fairy tale element there?
For this film?
Yeah, for this one, yeah.
Between reality and fantasy, and hopefully, that's a movie too, you know, and hopefully a little bit dreamy and kind of punchy, like falling in love feels like. And about loneliness, you know, I think we can all feel pretty lonely sometimes, and I know that I can sometimes, and so I go and write a movie so that I can be around people.
On that note, I'm afraid our time is up. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.